One of the great advantages of having a live streamed talk show is that we can react to this news immediately. And joining us on the first half hour, at least, of this program is Josh Kincaid from the Talking Hedge and our Washington State correspondent on Weed Talk News. Hello, Josh.
Hey, Jimmy.
And also another correspondent, this one from Florida, Heather Allman from the Cannabis Law Report. Hello, Heather.
Hello, Jimmy. Thank you for having me.
And our special guest to lead off this half hour is our favorite representative from the New Hampshire House of Representatives. His name is Tim Egan. Hello, Tim.
Thank you, Jimmy, for having me. Welcome. Welcome to your viewers.
All right. So why don't we just do this first before we start asking Tim about what's going on in New Hampshire, because, all of a sudden everything breaks on a Friday afternoon. And I guess that's one of the reasons why I thought having a live show at 4 o'clock would have been a good idea. And, I was tallying up. I think we've done something like 75 or 80 of these shows on Fridays now over the last year and a half. So I have to make sure we know when we hit that century mark, the 100th show, and I will certainly be able to share that with everybody. I notice already that people are in the chat room, and I did throw up a generic question about the MORE Act. So, Josh, I'm going to start with you and get your reactions to the news that the U.S. House of Representatives have actually passed a bill to legalize cannabis.
Yes, for a second time in history. So good news. They debated it for an hour. So there was some stuff to be said, but ultimately fairly partisan issue where they see the revenue behind it and want to move forward. I did find it kind of interesting that they threw out some roadblocks, being inflation as a reason why maybe they don't want to deal with this now and there's other things to deal with, but I haven't heard of anything for them on a way to actually combat inflation successfully. But looks like there's some opportunities, but also some challenges. I'm looking at if they deschedule to a 2, that's not a good thing. So looking at all of these options and what it really means, there's a lot of noise, a lot of excitement, but schedule 2, not great. 8% tax, not awesome. And if they pave the way to interstate commerce without actually saying interstate commerce, trust me, coming from Washington 10 years later, it takes a long time to implement and change and do stuff. So if it's not there, we may not have interstate commerce, which could be the plot all along with multi-state operators. $250 million in New York, they're not expecting legalization anytime soon.
At least at the federal level. And of course, this is a House bill. It still has to go to the Senate. Same situation in New Hampshire. But let's get Heather Allman's feedback a little bit on the MORE Act passing for the second time in the U.S. House of Representatives.
Well, it's exciting news. As Josh said, we got some of the issues hashed out that I believe needed to be talked about, but I find it, we have the proponents of this, but we also are going to have that opposition in Booker and Wyden and Schumer because they're trying to push theirs. But with the MORE Act passing and going to the Senate, it's exciting news. The interstate commerce issue, yes, is an issue, but I've been speaking with a lot of people that are considering the fact that this is an unconstitutional issue or not, because I know that interstate commerce under the Business and Professional Code, especially in California, there's actually a bill that's been brought up there. So there's a lot of moving and shaking going on. So it's exciting news that it's passed the House again, but it's going to be interesting to see what develops in the Senate.
Gee, that sounds familiar. Tim Egan, you're in the House at a state house, New Hampshire, and they had a marginal medical program that was going on for the last few years, I believe. But now you've taken it to the next step. First of all, congratulations on getting this through, because I know you were instrumental on the committee that helped steer this through.
Thank you, Jimmy. I am the chair of the House Democratic Cannabis Caucus, but let me make the nice segue for you, like TV guys love to do, which is the one disappointment in the MORE Act is that one of my congressmen, not my congressman, but one of our congressmen, we only have 2, Annie Custer and Chris Pappas. Chris Pappas voted no. And it surprises me because in the last UNH poll, Democrats are 79% in favor of legalized cannabis in the state of New Hampshire. So I think he's going to have some questions to be had in his next election season. I think that's a little bit of the purple state that New Hampshire is. What happened just yesterday was House Bill 1598 to legalize cannabis and commercialize it through a one-of-a-kind, right? Every other state knows what they've been doing in terms of a commission and independent businesses running dispensaries. New Hampshire is going to go with a state-run model similar to Nova Scotia, where our New Hampshire Liquor Commission will have in the bill unlimited licenses. So there'll be a massive amount of product grown, and then the state will run dispensaries to sell product. That passed 169 to one. I want to make sure I get it right. Accuracy in journalism here at Pro Cannabis Media is my motto. 169 to 156. That will now move on to the Senate. It's an arduous process here in New Hampshire. Bill came to criminal justice because it was a cannabis legalization bill, passed out of that, comes to the House, got a majority vote, went to a second committee because it's a financial bill, went to Ways and Means, came out 12-10 on a party vote, came to the floor of the House, was amended for a few things, more than a few things, and that passed just yesterday evening. It was actually the second to last bill of the night, which is why I didn't get a chance to send you an email till 5 o'clock this morning, East Coast time. And so we got a one step forward here, the crawl before you walk before you run. So that's where we're at in the House.
That's certainly the same mantra that's going on in Washington, D.C. right now, too. You know that. The Senate, as we all know, is controlled by nobody. Okay. And that's half the problem, is that it's split down 50-50. And, I just can't see how this is going to take the next step. It'll take an awful lot of people in at least some of the legal states to put pressure as much as possible on their representatives in the Senate, okay, to somehow or other change those Republicans that are digging their heels on this. This has become a Democrat versus a Republican bill, an issue. Josh, are you confident at all that we're going to see any movement? The ideal is 60 votes in the Senate, correct?
I don't know, Jimmy, but I am confident that it will pass. In fact, after November, I think the Senate and the House are probably going to flip Republican. We'll probably have one of the lamest lame duck sessions in history, but that also is an opportunity. So we could focus on some revenue generation, access for all, and kind of push that narrative where two-prong approach, right? The access for all for people, and that's from the top up or from the bottom up. From the top down, you're looking at the removal of 280E, which is more exciting to me and a lot of folks than banking, because banking is already kind of out there and available for many. With the 280E removal, those margins automatically go way up, and people can then, or companies can then bring that price down, and then everyone's happy. Once that normalization happens, pricing coming down, more affordability, especially during inflation right now, hopefully all of those things can kind of normalize and pave for a way to have some kind of normal system in place. Yeah. We'll see.
A normal system out of DC would be a good thing.
A novel approach indeed.
A novel approach.
Yes.
Heather, your react. Do you think it will move forward in the Senate?
I am not as hopeful as Josh. I personally think that there's a little too much resistance. As you mentioned, it's not really controlled by anyone. We have a lot of infighting going on. I mean, I was surprised back in February when Matt Gaetz came out and said, we need to expeditiously, look at the MORE Act, because you're right. This is split down the middle. It seems, even though it's not quite 50-50, there's a lot of pushback on the side of Republicans for tax reasons. There's a lot of pushback from Democrats for social equity reasons. So I think it's going to be a hard sell all the way around.
And it seems like you only need 10, maybe 12 people, because I think there's 2 Democratic senators that are already saying no, no, no. And that takes you down to 48. And you still need to get to 60 without that filibuster. Tim, how You go into a meeting with Republicans. What are their resistance? What are the biggest factors that they bring out on a regular basis? And I'm
Well,
just talking about New Hampshire here, not
Right.
the United States.
And it's interesting. I got to tell you, it's the one time in my life that I can say that the Republicans aren't necessarily the problem here in New Hampshire. New Hampshire has had a bit of an anomaly the last couple of years. We have sort of what we call a big libertarian Liberty caucus. The Liberty Alliance is about 80 members of the 400-member House of Representatives. Yes, unfortunately, we are the third largest governing body in the world, pre-Congress, U.S. Congress, New Hampshire Legislature. So of our 400 members, there's about almost 80 libertarians who are free everything, right? They're free staters. They want to pay no taxes, but cannabis is, I should have the right to grow it, smoke it, use it, whatever. So they're actually have been an ally of the Democrats. We have the progressive Democrats that have been very supportive. Our problem has been sort of older Democrats who are, little Timmy, little Jimmy failed math because he was out behind the gym smoking weed. And they're sort of stuck in that Reagan era mindset. So those folks and older, moderate, not moderate, more conservative Republicans. It's the moderate Republicans, the libertarians, and the progressive Democrats have sort of unified to get us across the board. So that's really what has really mirrored nationally what's going on. I do want to say that our two federal senators, who I love, Maggie Hassan, Jeanne Shaheen, have been awful quiet on this topic in New Hampshire. So I don't know if they're keeping their powder dry for the discussion federally and saying, great, this is Governor Chris Sununu's problem. But we're also mirroring it in the New Hampshire Senate. I can talk more about that, but I don't want to eat up all your airtime. I'd love to get to that when we do.
That's all right. That's all right. I love people who eat up my airtime because it means I have to say less. I really appreciate that. And I think people at home appreciate that too sometimes. But I do want to go back to your New Hampshire bill because there was a few amendments that were added late in this process that you said in one of your quotes in one of the newsletters that I get actually helped you decide to vote for this bill. One of them was the edible provision. Am I right?
It's so funny. Everybody that is studying this business, understands it. The work that I've done in the last 2 or 3 years with the Cannabis Certification Council, we all see edibles rising as a sales product, right? It's the result of older folks who no longer, grew up in the cigarette generation and no longer want to smoke. They don't want to inhale. So they're going to choose a gummy, a cookie. That's the one thing that's not in this bill. And then moreover, in the initial bill, we are decriminalized in New Hampshire until this bill passes, right? So it's basically possession of less than 3/4 of an ounce. It's a $100 ticket. More than that, it's a steeper fine, but it's not a felony. In 1598, before the amendment, you could get a felony charge if you had more than 300 milligrams of edibles. That's like 3 packets of gummies. So, I'm sorry, a packet and a half of gummies. So, now one of the real important ones for me was, okay, I understand that I might not be able to buy it in New Hampshire yet. We got another session. Bills get changed all the time, but that should not be something that sends you to jail. So that was a big sticking point, which I think the creators of the bill, who majority of the sponsors were the Republicans. There were 2 or 3 Democrats, including our floor leader. So that's why I felt comfortable with the change that now edibles are, you can possess them, you can use them. There's going to be no penalty for that. And that was a big one. The other ones, which are a little more, I'll say, in the weeds, and that's your other show, good show plug.
Thank you, Tim.
We're about the finance side. New Hampshire is a no sales tax, no income tax state. It's an interesting place to be a Democrat because we love services. We like education. We like public health care. We like, supporting the law enforcement, environment. So we're stringent with the dollars. And that was the big reason why I think Republicans were in favor of this bill. But one of the things that changed was we made sure that we put more money into reducing property taxes, like line items of where the revenue as it comes in goes to, which is the only way that New Hampshire gets taxed revenue. And that taxes the landowners disproportionately. So we said some of this needs to go to property tax to help landowners and homeowners, and it needs to go towards our long-term debt, our pension program, because New Hampshire is one of the top 3 oldest states in the country. We have folks that are, we have tons of aging baby boomers who are getting state pensions for being a teacher, being a fireman. So we wanted to make sure that those costs that hit the state were being directed, and then the state could use it for the, hey, we have extra revenue, let's buy more snow plows and, and pave roads and things like that. So those couple provisions, business wise and legally wise, were really important to me. I think, like I said, most laws go over changes. In New Hampshire, we have biennium, so every 2 years. So there's a good chance if reelected, and I'll say good chance, there's a great chance if reelected, I'll be filing a bill to make edibles legal within the structure, because then we'll already have built the structure, and I think the state-run operation will realize they're missing a market. When customers come into the store and they go, oh, you have this, you have that, and oh, do you have any cookies or do you have any gummies? And we run great liquor stores here. It's a really great, smart business model. I think anybody that runs a good retail business will understand when consumers start asking for things, you better give them or they'll go somewhere else. So I think edibles are eventual. So that's sort of the big couple changes that made me support this bill. And, it was 13 votes, it was close.
Right. No home grow, right?
So breaking news, Jimmy Young, next Thursday, the 7th, finally put on the docket under State Senate Judiciary Committee, 9:00 in the morning, is House Bill 629, which passed with a veto-proof majority earlier in September. It's a bill I supported vehemently, a Representative Carol McGuire bill, which is legalization and home grow possession, up to announce, I think it's 3 mature plants, 6 immature plants. That's actually finally getting a hearing. You know when it decided to get a hearing? Thursday morning, when House Bill 1598 was coming to the floor. So I think the Senate now realizes they have to take some action. So if I can say to any of your viewers that are in New Hampshire, contact your senator. Please go to our general court, .state.nh.us, look up House Bill 629 and ping and say you're in favor of that bill passing. We need folks out there to say to their state senators on the Judiciary Committee that this bill is worthwhile. If we're in a state where live free or die is the motto, and we have libertarians who call their Free State Project, and our governor gave his State of the State address and said, we're the freest state in the nation, why should we not be able to have legal cannabis if you want to grow it in your backyard?
Absolutely. I certainly agree with that. Josh, you want to have a closing question for Tim, or are we good?
I would like to know, I didn't hear the explanation, and maybe you don't know, but maybe you can infer, why did that Democrat flip when he voted before to approve, and then this last time put a no vote on the legalization? What is that about?
I just learned that literally about an hour and a half ago from a great fan and supporter and I'll say leader of the pro-cannabis movement in our state, Matt Simon, who used to run the Marijuana Policy Project, now works for Prime ATC, our medicinal industry. He let me know that Congressman Chris Pappas voted no. So I'm going to dig into that. My personal congresswoman is Annie Custer. I live in Sugar Hill, which is in the White Mountains. So that's her district. He's in the other district. We only have 2 congressional folks. So we're going to dig into that. I know the Democratic caucus is going to ask him, because we're in favor of it here in the state. The last poll, which was just like 4 weeks ago, 79% of Democrats want legalized cannabis in New Hampshire. Overall 70% of the people in the state, and 60% of Republicans. So if he wants to get reelected, I'm not sure what he's thinking, because the preponderance of folks are thinking that way, and we think that's everything. The signals that we're getting from the corner office and Chris Sununu is this: it's time finally in New Hampshire. At least we're getting that vibe. At least we're being told that by supporters and confidants of his. So I will hopefully maybe that's for the next episode. I can give you some more
Yeah.
news.
Well, you know, you're welcome here anytime. I appreciate that. Heather, any last questions you have for Tim?
Yeah, I was not a question, just the suggestion. Make sure you watch that edibles rule, because I'm in Florida and we passed ours legalized. We didn't get edibles for another 4 or 5 years. So I'm with you. I think that that's where we're getting the biggest demographic of new people coming into the market, and they want to try those things that they're trying to leave out, because, you know, that's important, is having all of the options and having that open accessibility.
Yeah, I will definitely want to talk to you more about your strategies and communication around how you did that. I think where we're seeing the pressure in a good way is, right, Mass and Maine have been active. You know, Canada, it's legal. Vermont coming on board in the last year, New York legalizing, Connecticut legalizing. I think there's now pressure in New England. And I think that's why, you know, you're seeing House Bill 1598 move forward. I do agree that, you know, we have to watch that, but I think the pressure of Vermont and the sort of the economic development relationship, you know, Vermont and New Hampshire are next to each other, but they don't think north and south. They more think east and west. And a lot of people in the North Country, Grafton and Cost County, where I live, go do their business, you know, or go into Maine and into Vermont, into St. Johnsbury, into Lyndonville, into Hardwick, into, you know, Burlington. So if it's easy for them to cross the border and buy edibles, the state's going to wake up right away and go, oh my gosh, we missed the window. We better hurry and get it through. So
can I ask you a follow-up question about that? Because if you have border state FOMO and people are crossing over and buying it, but then the state doesn't get that revenue, what is your opinion on how many states will have to have that approval from regulation into actual legalization? How many states need to approve in order to have full federal legalization?
I don't know. You know, that's a tough question. Right. What do we have? We're at 18, 17 states.
36 medical. Yeah, 36, I think, medical, and 19 adult
19.
use.
19 adult use. You know, it's going to be, I think it's going to be more than half the nation is going to have to be there. You know, we're going to have to get another 5, 6 states.
Right. That's what we need. That's what we need. But right now, we need to take a break. We want to thank Tim Egan, representative from New Hampshire, who joins us on a regular basis. Always a pleasure, Tim. And I look forward to talking with you again, sir.
Can I make one last comment, Jimmy?
Okay.
Oh, okay. You said you want to fill air. You know, I was named to be the chair of the House Democratic Cannabis Caucus by our minority leader, Rennie Cushing. He passed away about 3 weeks ago. He's been an ardent supporter of pro-cannabis. I think there was a sentiment in the House of Democrats to support this bill, while a tough state-run bill that the sort of the governor is leading, you know, will benefit from, because the state will do well financially. But I think everybody had him in the side of them going, this is what Rennie would want us to do. And I want to pay homage to him. But I want to make people know that, you know, at the end of the day, we're elected officials who work for the people. And when I look at the numbers, and 80% of the people in my state say I want legal adult use cannabis, I have to vote for it. And I have to tell my Democratic friends and Republican friends and independent friends and libertarian friends, go, this is what your people want. This is what your job is. Let's do it. So I appreciate you letting me say that. And I appreciate chatting with Josh and Heather and you today.
Always a pleasure, Tim Egan. We are going to take a break, our regular 4:20 break with Shanty, who, by the way, as you know, Tim, is a New Hampshire guy and actually played this version of Shanty at the public radio station in New Hampshire. So we're having kind of a Granite State love fest today. Is that all right? Yeah, live free or die, baby. We're going to take a break. We'll be back with more. Don't go away.
With that, we're going to roll this one up. I'm Josh Kincaid. This is The Talking Hedge. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, or don't, and I'm out. Don't forget to smash that like button on your way out and check out these other videos that we've got.